Ending this episode is Valky 64, the newest game I've covered as of this video. I can't remember how I discovered this game, but it was a few months after release, and I remember being surprised to see one of these retro-style indie games be inspired by the N64 Zelda games, as it's not something I've seen very often. That kind of game must be especially tough to make. So I was interested, and once I got this computer that can actually run games, it was on my to-do list. Starting a new game gets me told the backstory. It's set in the realm of Selisa, where the goddesses of order and chaos ruled together. Then the goddess of chaos decided she wanted all of it. She took on the goddess of order's army of guardians with her own army, the Reptids. She lost, but all but one of the goddess of order's guardians were killed too. That one being the player character, Valky. But now the goddess of chaos is back and trying it all again, with only Valky left to stop her. I gain control in the central hub, the Sky Temple, and run forward to speak with the statue of the goddess of order. The goddess of chaos has obtained the Chaos Gem and used it to build a new Reptid army. It's smaller than her original, but it's enough to cause problems for all four realms, or realms as it says here. Each realm contains a temple that contains holy gems. Getting all four will allow her to create a portal to the Chaos Fortress. I can do the realms in any order I want, but the goddess recommends starting with the realm Kizen where the Forest Temple is found, and since I'm boring, I go with that. Kizen is your standard starting grassy area. In terms of movement options, I can jump, and then there's a sprint which I believe was patched in before I played the game. The sword requires two presses, one to unsheathe and then another to attack. Of course I can cut the grass and find money underneath. In this game the money is named Saphil and a blue one is worth 1, a red one worth 10. I follow the starting path into the main open field and face my first enemy, a slime. Right next to me to the south is a bridge to a house. This is the training dojo. It contains gameplay instructions and tips. One important note is that I cannot jump attack with my sword out, but I can unsheath for a strong attack mid-jump. There are 4 advanced techniques to buy here, but I'm not allowed until I get a pass from the village elder. So back across the bridge and I get following the path north. One thing I never quite got used to was the unsheath before I can attack. Even by the end of the game I was still expecting, like in Zelda, for unsheath and attack to be the same action. This led to several times where I sprint up to an enemy all confident and cocky thinking this will make good footage for the video, then fiddle about with my weapon and get hit first because I kept forgetting. I also have a parry, which I believe was also patched in with the sprint. The parry is going to be very helpful for me, so I'm glad it was put in. Across another bridge and there are exits to the north, east and west, with the northern one clearly leading to a mountain. The eastern one leads to the Forest Temple, while the one I take, the western one, leads to Kizen Town. It's filled with more fox people, like Bloxy here who tells me that the Elder's hut is uphill to the north. Urxy tells me that the Kizen mountain area has already been claimed by the Reptids. Floxy tells me that there's an ancient tomb hiding a powerful weapon somewhere in the desert. Merxy tells me that the Reptids have already taken control of the Forest Temple too. There's a shop where I can buy health refills, potions, and here there's a heart piece. 2 heart pieces for 1 more heart to my health, but it's 100 Saphil and I only have 30 right now. By the lake is Gorksy, who wishes there was a pier to make fishing easier, but he lacks the tools to make one. He needs a hammer and some wood. The house nearby has Rexy, who loves red and loves fish and has an empty fish tank. She wants me to get a red fish to put inside it. Up the hill is Hawksy, who wishes to leave and go on an adventure, but he needs to sell his house first. I don't have 450 Saphil though. Next door is Laxy, crying because her idiot son decided to go playing alone at the Reptid-controlled mountain. Nearby, Anexi lets me know that some of the dojo scrolls cost more than my default Saphil bag can hold at 500. But the Velfen in the Snowlands can make me a bigger wallet later. That just leaves one last hill and the house of Zerexi the Elder at the top. He's offering a reward for clearing the Reptids out of the Forest Temple and making the area safe again. After running through the tall grass to pick up more loose change, I leave town to get a couple of the side quests done. First, behind the tree next to the dojo is the first chest I find in the game. It gets me my first heart piece. Having built up over 100 Saphil during that, I return to the village and buy the heart piece in the shop to increase my health for the first time. Back onto the field and I take the northern path to the Kizen mountain. First I head east to the lake to easily see that red fish. I just need to swim into it to collect it. I next get running north along the west wall, meeting my first Reptid. This one just tries swiping a claw at me before I take it down. I follow the path around to start walking up the mountain. There's just a couple slimes on the way until I reach the top and face a Reptid with a sword. He almost killed me thanks to his backing slime, but I parry them both to death. Loxy can now go home, hoping his mum won't kill him instead. I jump off the side of the mountain to land by this bridge, but the Reptid across it hands me my first death. I take him out next time and then cross this big tree to find a chest in the hollowed out base hiding another heart piece. I return to the village and give Rexy her fish. In return I get a chest with another heart piece and another health increase. I go to Laxi and her stupid kid told her I saved him, and so I get to open the chest in her house for another heart piece. Loxy is also grounded, as he deserves. Back onto the field, I now take the eastern exit leading to the exterior of the Forest Temple. Before I go inside, next to the steps are a ladder, and once I climb that, there's another ladder. This leads to a chest with another heart piece, and I've already doubled my starting health. Now I can go inside. The first room has 3 doors, the right one is barred, the front one is locked, and so my only option is the left door. It leads into a courtyard, and this place does a good job as a simple tribute to Ocarina of Time's Forest Temple. The general look of it and the little fountain in the middle looking like the well that joined the 2 courtyards in that game. Up the stairs is a switch that unlocks the door to the next room. Then a short hallway to a room with 2 slimes, 2 reptids, and 2 spinning blades moving along tracks in the floor. I simply have to kill them all to unlock the door to another hallway with a spinning blade inside. This one leads to a larger courtyard. After killing all the enemies on the floor, I go up the stairs to face my first spear-wielding reptid. The guy has bad aim and keeps stabbing at the air nowhere near me. I press the switch behind him to open the next door. It takes me back inside to another room with some stairs. They lead to a narrow bridge with a pair of swinging guillotines. They're not too fast though, so I run straight past them to climb further up to reach the switch that opens the next door. There's also a chest next to it containing the dungeon map. Through the door and it's out into another courtyard. I open the chest in the corner to find the bronze key, which unlocks the locked door in this room. The room it leads to has 2 reptids, a slime and a spinning blade. This room requires the bronze key, and since keys are not single use in this game, I can just pass through. But the hallway it leads to has a door needing a silver key, so I turn right and go through that door into a room with 2 reptids, 2 slimes and a spinning blade that circles the room. No track either to make it harder to tell its exact path. Through the next door to end up in a room with a chest and a door requiring a silver key and one a gold key. I open the chest and get the silver key. The door in this room it unlocks takes me back to the starting room. The door in the previous hallway it unlocks takes me to one last courtyard. There are 2 reptids and 3 slimes on the ground, then 2 more reptids up the stairs and across the bridge. At the end of the bridge is a chest containing the gold key. And on the way back down I see the switch that opens the last door back to the starting room off to the side. I go through that door and the last hallway contains one last chest with another heart piece inside. All that's left now is to open the gold door and face the boss, a big rock golem. There's also 2 spinning blades moving along the middle of the room. He'll run towards me and try slamming both fists down when he gets close. When that happens is when I decide to get my hits in. It's an easy enough pattern to exploit. But then I discover I can just parry instead. So I stand there parrying, also sneaking in the odd normal attack in between, until he eventually drops dead. He leaves behind a full heart container and the green gem, looking like a giant Spyro 2 orb. Getting this gem unlocks the achievement Force of Nature. There's no warp out of the dungeon, just have to do an awkward jog back out the way you came. It's a very simple dungeon, as you'd expect for the one you're expected to do first, and I feel it did a good job showing you what to expect from the game in terms of complexity. The game isn't designed to be complex, you only have one weapon so most progress is held behind either combat or navigating the environment. I return to Kizen Town and with the 450 Saphil I've since built up, I buy Hawks' house from him. I can't do anything with it just yet though. Next I see Xerexia, who feels I have proven myself worthy of the chest that appears. It contains a dojo pass so I can buy the scrolls there. But I can't afford any right now as I've just spent all my money on an empty house. But apart from the scrolls, I've accomplished all I can in terms of quests that I can from only visiting here, so I return to the hub. I check in with the goddess who tells me that she recommends the lava cave next, so I just do as I'm told. Well, the cave only refers to as the area of this volcano that holds the dungeon, the rest of it is out in the open. Reptids are red here, and a new enemy is these giant flies with pincers. A jump attack could deal with the flies, but parrying is so much more efficient on them. Valky is so durable she can stand on a boulder so hot they glow red and not feel anything. I go downhill and take the first turn east that I can. There's a few reptids guarding a chest. It has another heart piece, getting me to 8 hearts. I go back downhill to reach an open plain and then turn south where I can see 3 reptids holding this big guy hostage. I kill them all and Morka here tells me to find his pottery house in Magamu village, which is where he'll give me my reward. And nearby, these look like spider eggs so I don't really trust them, but nothing happens when I smash them so it's okay. I get moving to the northern section of this area. To the east is Magamu village and to the west is the lava cave. But before that I have to do a bit of vandalism for money. At least I know these egg things are safe. You fuck. I think it's been a long while since I let the viewers know I'm arachnophobic, maybe about 4 years. I think Wario World was the last time I remember bringing it up. I especially don't appreciate surprise spiders. It wasn't like this before. Spiders in games didn't bother me, but a certain cliff edge in a certain shrine 12.5 years ago ruined my life. But we're not talking about that game. What it does mean is I'm now cautious over every spider egg I break. I also got killed by a fly while looking for stuff to break. When I get back after breaking enough, I head on east to Magmu Village. The first person I speak to, Blorky, recommends I speak to the Magmu Elder by the Great Forge. Next to him is Bertie, who tells me he'll give me something useful if I bring him back some ore from a crystal cave at the lava falls. Up the stairs to the forge, and Marag the Elder tells me that the spiders are coming from the lava cave and still multiplying. If I kill their queen, he'll make me some stronger armour. Down the other stairs to a shop. I ignore the potions for now and buy another heart piece for 100 Saphil. The seller talks about the haste potion, which increases movement speed but can be lost when you take damage, which is what happened to this poor guy seconds after he drank his. Across the bridge is Morky and the chest containing my reward for saving him, another heart piece getting me to 9 hearts. At the northern end of the village is an exit into the lava falls. More flies and reptids fill this place. Northwest and across this bridge, and up the stairs and across another bridge to reach the crystal cave. A chunk of crystal ore is here in the back, so I grab it. I then follow the cliff around to find more stairs going down into the lava. Here I can jump across to another chest containing another heart piece. Back into the village and I hand the crystal ore over to Bertie. In return he gives me a chest containing the hammer that Gorksy needed to build that pier in Kizen Town, but I still need some wood. Back out into the main field and take the western exit to end up in the entrance to the lava cave. It's a straight walk ahead to the temple, but I can jump up the rocks on the west to reach another chest. There's another heart piece and halfway to maximum health at 10 hearts. With that I can run ahead and enter the temple. I first run straight ahead and then have to turn west and cross a bridge covered in flamethrowers with fireballs jumping across it to reach the first door. It's a room filled with spiders and eggs. I can just move on without fighting, but fuck 'em. Through the door and up some stairs with flamethrowers along the wall to another door. Now here I have to fight to unlock the door. 2 spiders and 2 reptids along with flamethrowers on the wall. Once they're dead, the door unlocks and I can go uphill to another door. I cross another bridge to reach this arena that locks behind me and makes me fight 3 reptids. Easy. There's also a chest with the bronze key inside. Out the other side of the arena is a door needing that key. Past some flamethrowers and downhill to the next door. With the Ocarina of Time inspiration in mind, this specific room feels like a very Dodongo's Cavern room. Halfway through this room is a chest with the dungeon map inside. The rest of the room is flamethrowers and spider eggs. Here I have a hallway with a door on the opposite end, but instead I turn right and go downhill to unlock this bronze door. I kill the reptid and see how much is ahead and go back in to take the opposite door instead. More flamethrowers, a sword reptid and several spiders. Kill them all to unlock the door and behind that I go uphill to the next door. Through that is another bridge leading to another arena. 2 spiders, 3 reptids and a spinning blade. Kill them all for a chest containing the silver key. Back down to where I went through that bronze door and killed the reptid, I jump across the platforms to reach a switch that creates a bridge connecting this area to the start of the temple. I go west and cross another bridge to a chest containing another heart piece. Back across, north a little, and through the silver door to the east, and this is clearly inspired by the second Lizalfos mini-boss room from Dodongo's Cavern. I jump across all the platforms to the end to reach the chest hiding the gold key. Back out into the main room and all the way north to use that key and take on the Spider Queen. The arena is covered in fireballs and flamethrowers, along with eggs that will clearly contain more spiders. So instead I just stand there and abuse the parry. She'll either attack with her front legs or try stabbing me with her ass. She's so big she actually blocks her smaller helpers from reaching me until she drops dead. I get the next heart container and the red gem, getting me the achievement Immense Power. Quite a straightforward dungeon, felt more linear than the first one despite looking more complex. The presence of the spiders is the only real complaint I have about it. I return to Magmu Village and tell Marag what I did. I claim my new power armour, dressing Valky in red. I now take less damage. I return to the Sky Temple, but before moving on, I go back to Kizen. I return to the dojo and buy the Life Potion scroll for 350 Saphil. The Life Potion will normally revive you with 3 hearts if you die while owning one. This scroll will increase it to 6 hearts when revived. I spend a few minutes farming money from the slimes outside until I reach 250 Saphil. I then spend that 250 on the Haste Potion scroll. This can have me take as many hits as I want with a Haste Potion without losing it, it only wearing off on death. That's half the scrolls bought, the other 2 cost more than my wallet can hold. I check in with the Goddess of Order again to be recommended the Snowlands next. Now this place just really does it for me. The music here helps too. Something about the low poly N64 style snowy areas really makes me feel comfortable. Slimes return here, but now they're icy and spiky. Reptids are blue and have more health than before. I run up the first slope north from the entrance to find a hat on top of the giant snowball, which I take. Further north are some signs, north to the Snow Mountain where the next gem is, and northwest to the Velfen Hut. To the east from here, I get Zora's Fountain flashbacks as I jump over these spinning ice platforms in the lake to reach the chest at the end. 12 heart maximum for me now. I next take that northwestern exit to the Velfen hut. There are two little Velfen kids out here. Blappy says that the Velfen and Kizen are tribes of the same species, while Blippi had the wind steal his snowman's hat. I give it back to him and the resulting chest is another heart piece. I see some tree stumps near the hut, so I climbed onto the roof. On the cliff behind the roof is another chest with another heart piece, the 13 hearts. You can enter the hut by jumping down the chimney. You get nothing for it, but why wouldn't you? The mother, Saya, tells me that if I kill the sorcerer in the Snow Mountain responsible for the monsters here, she'll give me a bigger Saphil bag that can hold 999 Saphil. The dad, Frob, says that I can heal in the hot spring outside for free. He had to leave his axe behind at the northern lake when he was attacked by monsters. He'll reward me if I bring it back. They have another heart piece I buy for 100 Saphil. The hot spring outside heals you by just standing in it. Back out into the plains and I take the northern exit. I've compared locations to Ocarina of Time before, but this lake with the little islands connected by wooden bridges instantly reminded me of the road to Goron village from Majora's Mask. But before I deal with that, to the west there is a suspicious sequence of snowballs increasing in size. I climb them up to a cliff where there's this ice flower in the middle of the grass that I can take. That's for later, now for those islands. I cross the first bridge and on the first island, the path splits. The bridge to the northeast doesn't get me anything, but the bridge to the southeast is where I find Frob's axe. I return to the Velfen hut and give Frob his axe. Now he can chop up wood again, he gives me a bundle. Time for another detour back to Kizen. Going back through the hub world, I can see that Valky's old retired blue armour is now on display. Here are my stats at this point if you're curious. Back to Kizen town, I give Goxa the hammer and wood. He tells me to come back later when the pier is finished. I return to the lake in the Snowlands and continue north into a valley, over a bridge and into the Snow Mountain. Up the hill and I have 3 doors with the one in front of me locked. I take the door on the left into this big room. Half of the room is taken up by this lake with ice platforms leading to a switch that opens the next door, but I don't take it. I go back to the starting room and take the door to the right of the entrance. This one has 2 sections of floor separated by water. There's this ice ramp leading to an ice bridge over to the other side. Watch out for cracks in the ice as that marks where icicles fall from the ceiling and can damage you. At the end of the ice bridge is a switch that opens the other door in here. It leads to a room with an ice maze. It's quite simple really, and at the end is a chest containing this dungeon's silver key. Back to the room left of the entrance and through the door I opened there. This one locks behind me and shows me another big ramp bridge made of ice. It also requires jumping a few gaps. At the end is the chest, requiring the death of every enemy in the room to appear, with the bronze key inside. Back to the entrance and I can now use the bronze key to open the middle door. Up 2 large hills to reach a door needing the silver key to unlock. Now this room has spinning blades, 2 reptids and 4 of this new phantom enemy. These will become temporarily untouchable while still being able to attack me, I just have to be patient. There are doors to the left and right and unlocking them is done by killing all the enemies. I take the left door first. Right through the door to almost get slapped in the face by a phantom. This room is simple. Run up the ice ramp to the higher section, avoid the icicles, press the switch and go back down to go through the door. It leads into another maze, more complex than the previous one. It also has phantoms to fight off, falling ice from above and pace to jump over. At the end of the maze is the chest with the gold key inside. Back to the room I first fought the phantoms in to unlock the door on the right. This one gives me a narrow bridge over a massive spike pit to cross, leading to the next door. But to unlock it I need to go off to the side to press a switch. But there's also this gap to jump to a ramp to a chest with another heart piece inside to get 14 hearts. Through the door and the next corridor. This room has this sort of ice castle. I have to go up and over it to the other side so I could turn around and go under the ramp, past the last few enemies and through the door to the boss. There is the sorcerer who's been causing all the trouble out here. The arena is surrounded in spots that falling ice hit. The sorcerer can also become untouchable like the phantoms. He also shoots out fireballs that become lingering flames when they hit the ground. He has a weird purple double slap and can teleport as well. More cracks appear in the floor as the fight goes on and he makes a purple fireball circle the arena. All these hazards make him the hardest of the 4 dungeon bosses in the game to me, especially when it comes to later achievements. Even the parry isn't as useful on him as on the other 3. And then the absolute luck to finally kill him on my final heart. I grab his heart container to get 3/4 of the final maximum, and the blue gem to get the Soothing Ice achievement. I liked being able to take on a few bits of a dungeon in any order I want. It's also one where my first run through was the easiest time I had with it when I was more patient, but we'll get to that later. I return to Saya at the Velfen hut and she allows me to open the chest containing the big Saphil bag, allowing me to carry 999 Saphil. I return to the goddess who tells me that the only remaining gem is in the desert ruins, but first back to Kizen. In the dojo I buy the legendary evasion scroll, allowing me to do a backwards dodge with my weapon out for 575 Saphil. Back to the town and Goxie has finished his pier. My reward is an ancient book he found on his travels. I also checked my stats again here if you're interested. And now for that desert. I turn around and right behind the portal there's a hidden cave. But the door inside it is locked, requiring the ancient key. The flies return here as I go out into the desert for the strongest reptids. You may also notice there is no map, as the desert is too difficult to chart. But if you think of entering this area from the portal as me moving north, then I go all the way north to find this hidden cliff behind a rock hiding a chest with a heart piece inside. In the northeast of this area is the exit into the area containing the entrance to the desert ruins. Near the giant ribcage is a chest with the heart piece that gets me to 16 hearts. Around the corner to the west is a slope down to the desert ruins. Once I enter, I realise where I am and leave. Back out into the main desert area and east of the entrance from the portal takes me to the desert oasis, where the Makari tribe live. We have Kamari, who tells me of undead monsters in the ruins that cannot be killed. Behind one of the tents is Cheyenne, who is tired of living in the desert heat and wants to be near water and grass. Thankfully I have that house I bought in Kizen Town and let them have it. Karim the Elder says that if I deal with the desert ruins I'll get an ancient artifact in return. Another tent has Maarik, who loves collecting books. Well, good thing I have an ancient book, and I swap it for the ancient key so now I can get inside the tomb near the portal. Another tent has Flore, who collects plants and minerals from around the world, but is missing a flower from the Snowlands. I hand over my ice flower and in return get another heart piece. And then I buy another heart piece from the shop. The Berserk potion is sold here, which makes your attacks deal more damage, until you land in water, which will cool you down and make you no longer berserk. At the back of town there is a ladder going down to a chest with another heart piece inside. Now I have that key, let's unlock the door to the ancient tomb. Can't tribute Ocarina of Time without having a Dark Link equivalent. But Dark Valky here also has fire for hair. They also have to watch out for the flamethrowers and spinning blades in this room. But once again the parry is king, and also I sneak in some regular slashes while waiting for her to try again. Of course, a few times I try getting too many hits between parries and just get hit myself instead. I lose a decent chunk of health, but in the end I parry enough that she drops dead first and the door in the back unlocks. It leads to the Ancient Blade, which Valky has faint memories of, possibly used in the War of Order and Chaos. Not only is this sword more powerful, it gets me the achievement, the Ancient Blade. Before taking on the ruins, I want to head back to Kizen, but on the way I can see that my old sword is also on display. I check out the house I gave away and Cheyenne has a chest out ready for me. Another heart piece getting me to 18 hearts. There's just 2 heart pieces and 1 heart container left now. With everything else done, I can finally tackle the desert ruins. One of those undead creatures is right there, wielding a sword. As Kamari said, they can't be killed, but enough damage will incapacitate them for a bit. Front door is locked, choice of left or right, I go left. A room filled with reptids and a sandpit in the middle. The doors are locked in the next room and I have a reptid and 2 undeads to fight. I have a locked door to the left and 1 in front, plus a door to the right blocked off by a wall, but only the front one opens when I kill the reptid. This next room has 3 more reptids I have to kill to unlock the next door. Past that is a room with an undead, an open door to the right, a locked door needing a key opposite where I started, and a switch to the left. I press the switch to discover it rotates that wall I mentioned a couple rooms back, and now it's blocking the right door in this room. I head back 2 rooms and go through the revealed door to find they put spiders in here too. Boo. There's a switch in here that opens up the other door. I never mentioned until now that when the spiders die, their sacs explode into damaging fluid, so watch out for that. I go through the door to find a room with a chest blocked off by fire, a hole in the middle, a locked door to the right, a barred door opposite, and an unlocked door to the left. The sign next to the chest says that the gold key is being sealed by the souls of 3 generals. I then go through the only other open door and I'm already fighting the first of those generals. They're a version of the undead enemies that can actually die, which this one does in no time. And a nice bit of convenience, the wall will rotate to reveal the door so I don't have to backtrack to the switch. The door puts me back out in the room with the switch. Going back 2 rooms again and that switch in the spider room also open up the barred door here. More spiders, an open door left and a door needing a silver key right. Through the open door and I have a narrow path over more sand with more spiders to deal with along it. It's a short journey and at the end is the chest with the bronze key. Back to the room with the blue switch and I can finally unlock that door. Right away I can see another chest which has the dungeon map, which should make scripting the rest of it much easier. I jump the sand and go through the next door. Barred door opposite and barred door left. But the right door is open so I go through there. A switch in here that opens a door back to the centre. The door leading east in the previous room is now opened. 2 doors and I start with the one to the north leading into a maze. Running through this thing thinking, there best not be a spider around that corner, and then, oh good, it's just a zombie. There's a chest in the centre of the room, but it's been difficult and refusing to exist physically. Lucky for me, the solution is to knock out all the undeads at once, and they've all ganged up on me and come around the corner. Now I have the silver key. Back out and use the bronze key on the opposite door. There's another general in here backed up by 3 reptids. Strange that the regular undead soldiers can't be killed, but the generals who you'd assume would rank higher can. Well, anyway, that's 2 of 3 down. Next I go all the way back to the west side of the ruins and open that silver key door I couldn't earlier. It's another maze, but the walls don't appear until you get close. Doesn't affect the spiders though, they can just walk right under. This maze has only 3 rows, so it's not too difficult before I reach the final general and kill him too. And back to the first room in the south. I start with unlocking the middle door with the bronze key to a room with a chest. It's a heart piece. The silver door in the back leads into the centre. First room again, and through the eastern door I ignored. Kill the reptids to unlock the door to the eastern room I've already been in. Now back to the centre so I can open that chest for the gold key, and then down the hole in the middle to use it. The boss is this big squid thing. There are 4 undeads in the corner of this arena blocked off by spikes. This thing really telegraphs its attacks because it rears its whole body back for a swing. As the fight goes on, more undeads will be set free, but they don't dare fight me. The few hits it does get in deal some serious damage, but it's still easier than the sorcerer. I get the final heart container and the yellow gem, getting me the achievement Eternal Life Force. I forgot how much I enjoyed this dungeon, with all the moving about I had to do and slowly unlocking all the doors. I think the memory was tainted by a later run, but as I said earlier, that's for later. Back to the Desert Oasis, and my reward from the Elder is the teleportation wings. By pressing the D-pad I can teleport instantly to the Sky Temple or any town. I go up to Kizen and buy the final scroll from the dojo. The legendary combat scroll adds an extra attack to my basic combo and powers up my parries and jump attacks. It cost me 750 Saphil, but I'm still missing 1 last heart piece, so time to go looking. While checking the lava cave again, I get the achievement Keep Them Coming for killing 500 enemies. I don't know which one it was, but it has to be here because the achievement is listed as unlocking 7 minutes after the yellow gem one, and that's where I am when I go 7 minutes further into the footage. It wasn't in there, but I built up the money to buy my first life potion. I return to the Sky Temple to find the Goddess of Order shattered. I talk to her head for her to tell Valky that the Goddess of Chaos found her and took her out. But in the spot she once stood, she has managed to open a portal to the Chaos Fortress. Vengeance can wait though, I'm still looking for that heart piece. It's in the lake in the Snowlands near the Snow Mountain. There's a series of ice platforms in the water. I jump across them all and reach the chest with the final heart piece inside for that full 20 hearts. I also buy a haste potion from the Velfen Hut, and then a berserk potion from the Desert Oasis. You can tell you have one of these because one of Valky's eyes will be on fire. And there's a full inventory. Now I can take that portal for revenge. I'm going to have to fight my way all the way up this place. The first room gives me 5 slimes and 7 reptids, along with a guillotine and spinning blades. Of course these are Kizen versions and I have a stronger sword now along with a berserk potion, so they have no chance. The door unlocks into the volcano room where I have reptids, spiders and flies to deal with, along with flamethrowers on the floor. Once again, these early game losers aren't much of a threat. I'm allowed out to these long stairs that lead to the Snowlands room, and there's a switch that creates a shortcut between this floor and the portal. 2 slimes, 4 phantoms and 5 reptids, along with ice falling from the ceiling. Thanks to them dropping hearts on death, I finished this one with more health than when I started. Through the next door where I have spiders and reptids while also having to deal with the undead, and spikes coming out of the floor. This one I do let myself down on. The mistakes add up and I finish them off with almost half of my health gone. 1 last set of stairs and there is the Goddess of Chaos in an arena with flamethrowers all over the floor. She fights by casting a spell that sends fire out from herself in 4 directions. Parrying doesn't work here. Well, I can parry and hit her, but the flames linger long enough to still do damage right as your parry animation ends. And even with the armour, they do large damage. She can also hit me with her wings and create a large damaging barrier. And even with all the potions, I die first time. And when I restart, I still have the shortcut, but I still have to fight through the last 2 rooms again before I can reach her for a rematch. I at least keep my berserk potion on death, only water can get rid of that. Next time I get back to her with more health, but without the other 2 potions. I go for a boring strategy, wait for her to attack, get a hit or 2 in, run away, repeat. It is more effective, but the mistakes still add up and I die again. Next time I do a mix of both my parry and fleeing strategies. I spend a long time with less than a heart left, but I somehow pull it off and defeat her, getting the achievement End of Chaos. The Goddess of Chaos gets a headache and explodes. The Chaos Fortress falls from the sky and crashes into the ground as Valky watches from the Sky Temple. That landed in grasslands. I hope I didn't cause the flattening of Kizen Town. That's all for the ending, but I'm not done yet. I've unlocked a hard mode, but even before that I have 2 other achievements to obtain. First is clearing the game with only the default 3 hearts. I do it off screen, but here are my stats. 25 deaths before getting to the Chaos Fortress. On a replay I can wear this new Link Green armour if I want. It has no gameplay changes. What I did with this playthrough was get the Ancient Sword and clear the Lava Cave as early as possible, so I can have some kind of power up for the rest of the dungeons. First try at the fortress, I die at the Snowlands room. Then I die in the Desert room. It's not until my 3rd attempt that I make it back to the goddess. And it takes me a further 3 attempts to defeat her. It's tedious, but the most effective way is to target her, attack as she approaches and immediately dodge backwards. You might miss and make it take even longer, but as long as you aren't getting hit, it doesn't matter. I do end up using my life potion and it takes a while, but it eventually works. That gets me the achievement 3 Heart Goddess. This looks to be considered the hardest in the game, as right now while I write this, it's the only one that less than 1% of players have unlocked. The next one I have less to say about. I have to beat the game with my default sword and armour. I can collect all the hearts though. All this means is I take more damage and enemies take less. My strategy is unchanged and I defeat the goddess again for the achievement Blue is my favourite colour. But the final achievement requires going through hard mode first. I take more damage and enemies have more health. What I do is every side quest I can before I have to enter a dungeon to start with as much health as possible. Even that results in multiple deaths. It also includes getting the Ancient Sword before any dungeon too, involving many deaths against Dark Valky. With 13 maximum hearts and the Ancient Sword, I decide to get the Snow Mountain out of the way first so I can upgrade my wallet and afford those scrolls faster. Although perhaps I should have done the Lava Cave first for the armour, as it took me half an hour alone to reach the boss. Although that was with a detour to the shops to buy more heart pieces when I built up the money. It took over 10 minutes to kill him too. I basically had to just not get hit, otherwise I'd crumple after seeing my health plummet. Forest Temple is nothing special really, nor is the Spider Queen, defeating both of those first try. But the Desert Ruins was a nightmare. It doesn't help that this dungeon has a lot of progress that isn't checkpointed, like the unlocked bars from killing enemies, the generals killed and the switches pressed. And the more I died, the more impatient I got. The more risks I took to try and make things go faster when repeating stuff, only for them to get me killed even more. This is why I remember the dungeon being harder than it actually was. It took me about 50 minutes of repeating myself before I finished this place. But as for the Goddess of Chaos, it only took me 2 attempts. The same strategy as before worked, so it was just a case of making less mistakes, so she died first. Clearing the game on hard mode has a Dark Valky appear in the Sky Temple for one last challenge to crown Valky as the new One Goddess of Selisa. This Dark Valky has my attacks, but her slashes come with a powered up version of the Goddess of Chaos flame attack, but with 6 flames coming out. And they deal massive damage. She can wipe me out in no time. Even dodging sideways while parrying doesn't work. After several failures, I found a guide by Silver Bunny on the game's Steam community and saw that it's possible no one has beat this fight without cheesing it. Have her follow you to the wall of this arena and jump up on it. That alone takes several attempts, so big thanks to that guide. Once we're close enough and I'm on that wall, I can beat her to death without her fighting back. It still takes a while because not only does she have these powerful attacks, she also heals herself. But eventually she dies and I obtain the Goddess Crown, getting me the final achievement, Valky the Goddess. Wearing this and pressing a shoulder button will let me heal 1 heart at a time, but it takes a while to recharge. There's the stats for this run too. And there's all my achievements. But you may notice the dates on them. They are less than a year after the game's release, breaking my own rules. That was an oversight. In fact, doing this only reinforced my preference to not cover games less than a year old, because stuff like this can happen. You may have noticed the game's Conquered counter hasn't appeared and increased yet. That's because 2 months after my playthrough, the game got a 1-year anniversary patch that added some extra stuff. The patch also messed with my save, so I had to re-obtain some items off screen, including the Goddess Crown. A new door has been placed around the centre west of Kizen. The sealed door requires either at least 10 hearts or 2 holy gems before it will let you in. It leads to a new woodlands area. Following the path takes me to a broken bridge leading to what looks like the Kokiri Forest and Lost Woods entrances from Ocarina of Time. But first I go east, taking out these new plant enemies. I also turn north where the next path is blocked by easily killed vine tentacles. Through the doorway is a big pink plant surrounded by tentacles. This one can spit some kind of white fire that lingers on the ground for a bit, but it can't run against the parry. I move on to find a new item, the magic feathers. These allow Valky to glide. They were sealed away by their previous owner until a worthy guardian could find them. It seems that the feathers are even more effective when in the skies. But first I return to that broken bridge at the start of the area and use them to glide across to that entrance. It leads to this big forest filled with giant mushrooms. I cross the bridges to this area in the centre north, where I can see a small island that needs gliding to. But first there are more big plants that need killing, starting with the one near me on this part. This is also where I discover that the mushrooms are bouncy. I find the second plant on the ground below the tree the first bridge from the entrance leads to. Before I take it on, I glide to that island to find that this entrance is blocked, requiring the killing of all the big plants to open. So there goes the one I just ignored. Back to the area where I killed the first big plant, I bounce up the mushrooms surrounding this tree. This lets me get on the area's outer wall. I can find the third big plant far out to the northwest. That's all of them, so it's back to the island and inside the tree. There's another 2 big plants protecting an even bigger orange plant. It's bigger, but it's killed in the same way as the rest. They were guarding a chest, and inside is a further defensive upgrade, the golden armour. If you didn't have the power armour yet, that would be in the chest and the magma welder would then give you this instead. But that's not all. That stone said that the magic feathers are even more effective in the sky, and so I return to the Sky Temple. There's a new portal placed between the Snowlands and Desert portals, but no bridge to it. In the Sky Temple, the magic feathers let you actually fly instead of just glide. The portal leads to the Sky Garden, which has also been overrun with big plants. The first one is straight ahead from where I start, resting in the little pool. There's a message left behind by the Guardians just before they left for the final battle with the Goddess of Chaos that they died in. It says to take care of this garden as it can grow violent plants if left for too long. I fly further into a larger island with a river in the middle and a second plant to kill. The next plant is right behind it on an island that's almost entirely pool. I take that one out and that's all of them, so I fly to this island with a shrine on it. The shrine was set to close when the plants appeared, but with them gone, I can get inside. There's one last chest here containing the Goddess Feathers. This will also make me immune to melee damage while gliding. I really like this extra item. There's something about new abilities that let me explore old areas in new ways, especially when it comes in the form of new abilities like flight that really make it feel like your character is getting stronger. Reminds me of all those unlockable mobility options in Kingdom Hearts 2 you can keep powering up. And just giving more to the Sky Temple was nice as well after being the entire time just a hub and the one bonus fight. And if you return to the forest and bounce on the mushrooms near the biggest tree, you can see something. Is that Kiwi from Kiwi 64? Now when it comes to reaching him, that took some effort. It took about half an hour, but it turned out I accidentally recorded the wrong window, so I had to do it again. Bounce to the outer wall and go to the nearest tree. Fly against this branch until you drag yourself to the seam at the top. Inch up it as far as you can, then jump and glide. You should be able to reach the top of that tree, all to have Kiwi wonder who you even are. And there's Valky 64. Should the game get any more content in future, I'll just have to take my punishment for my impatience and make a little extra video covering it. I liked it, and I'm glad that indie retro throwbacks have started catching up to this kind of game. It is a very limited game, with just your one weapon and few options even with it. And everything is very simple in design, but it's clear the developer is aware of that and doesn't try to make the game do more than it's capable of. And believe me, I've learned the value of that as we have a similar game in a couple months from the time this game is paying tribute to, and it does exactly try to have the game do more than it was designed for, and it ruined it. I think of this game the same way I do the Ciactro games I've covered. It's a nice condensed down version of the kind of game you don't get much of anymore. It doesn't match the best of the genre, but it did scratch that itch for me. As I write this, the ranking isn't decided. It may not crack the top 100 so far, but I feel it will get close-ish.